Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Mark Silvestri Day, so we're looking at the next issue in his Wolverine run from the early 90s. Before we do though, Big Baby Reviews is on the road to 250 subs. That will be our first kind of quick personal milestone that we'd like to hit. So if you are a viewer and you enjoy the videos and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so by hitting the button below. It really helps out the channel, helps get more of our material and content out there to other people who might be interested in watching the same kind of stuff that you do. So thank you for that. And with all that promotion out of the way, let's talk about Wolverine issue 40, cover dated June. This is 1990. I can't quite see that right there. 1991. So we are at the moment, I think, pretty much where Mark Silvestri is really hitting his stride. Maybe less so on this cover just because this is once again inked by someone else, Rubinstein in this case, who I don't think is the best fit. Not horrible, but Dan Green has been inking Mark Silvestri for quite a while now, maybe even on Uncanny X-Men back in the day, and I think it really is a good combo there that works well together, where not that this is horrible, but just doesn't quite work as much for me here with Rubinstein on top of Silvestri. Still a great cover though, this idea, I remember seeing this on the racks before I started buying them. We're 2 issues away from maybe me starting to collect this Wolverine series. But I remember seeing that and going, holy crap, this guy's like having whatever this jet is called. I forget. Is it a stealth bomber? Maybe. I'm not up on my military jets, but I think it's a stealth bomber, you know, just plowing into Wolverine. You would think that would kill him, even with the adamantium and the healing factor and stuff. Probably cut him in 2. But again, this is comic books and it just makes for a really cool, interesting cover. So I do think it's a good cover overall. And then you've got that weird doppelganger mangled version of Wolverine, who I'm starting to think kind of reminds me of Slash from the Ninja Turtles, not from Guns N' Roses. Kind of that, you know, messed up, fucked up version of Wolverine in this case, where Slash is the fucked up version of the Ninja Turtles. But there you have it for the cover. Let's crack this guy open and have a look inside. We'll mention once again, they've started using better newsprint paper, and man, does it like just look the page, make the pages look awesome. I think the black is still being absorbed just a little bit, just enough, and I think this is probably that perfect ratio of black, not fully black, like when you get glossy pages. And yeah, I appreciate. I've never liked comic books on glossy paper. Covers I'm fine with, but the interior I do feel has to be somewhat muted, and I think this is probably like a perfect era for production and paper for comic books. Let's go over the credits real quick. Larry Hama script, Mark Silvestri pencils, Dan Green inks, thankfully, on the interiors. Pat Bosso is the lettering, and Glynis Oliver's coloring. So once again, we got LCD here, and I guess they've brought her to the X-Mansion to kind of figure out how she's basically a little robotic bomb. So they're trying to figure out how they could maybe diffuse her and make sure she doesn't eventually explode, right? Or is not used by someone else to explode. We are pretty darn close to what I consider peak Mark Silvestri, which is late Wolverine and early Cyberforce. You know, again, he's not inking himself, so it's going to look a little bit different. Maybe a little more Marvel, a little more traditional, but we're definitely in the layouts of the characters and stuff, starting to see what I like about Mark Silvestri, his, you know, realistic yet cartoony background figures and characters, right? If I'm not mistaken, though, these are characters from earlier in the run. Pretty sure. And, you know, we've got a lot of body horror with this, is it Albert? Yeah, I was going to say Alfred, but it's Albert. You know, he's obviously, like I said, he kind of reminds me of Slash, but he's also kind of a Frankenstein figure, as you can tell from the design stuff's kind of been put together, you know? Kind of a Frankenstein Wolverine. So when it comes to, you know, body horror, Mark Silvestri just is doing an awesome job. Like, how gross does he look really up close here? I think that's pretty awesome. It's almost like his actual face is like Leatherface's, right? From the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Great use of silhouettes, not confusing, right? So he's moving away, I think, from some of the darker aspects he was taking away from Mike Mignola. I'm seeing less and less of that. Even though he's still using silhouettes, I don't feel like it's that Mike Mignola inspiration quite as much. It's like he's kind of integrated it and made it his own at this point. And yeah, so the expressions and the cartooniness here are great. It's what I feel Silvestri loses when he starts to kind of, you know, go more into a Jim Lee direction, which I would say is kind of, I don't know how else to describe it, but posy. You know what I mean? Not as dynamic, not as naturalistic. And I think Marc Silvestri's art suffers for it, right? You know, instead of having just characters posing around looking cool, this, you know, whole panel here, look at the storytelling going on here. You've got Forge, who's maybe more interested in his food than the conversation. Jubilee is, you know, either angry at her or not enjoying her food. She's enjoying her drink. Wolverine's enjoying his hamburger, right? Everyone's kind of doing something, right? And the waitress is, I assume, waiting on an order or on payment for the bill. Like, you can kind of just read what every person is maybe thinking or feeling in this panel, which with the later Image comics, that's kind of what you lose in the Image storytelling, at least with some of the artists. So here we get a shot of that plane. So it's a stealth, yeah, I think it's called the stealth bomber. And Silvestri not skimping on the storytelling. Still very kind of basic square and rectangular storytelling panels. But every panel, even the kind of, if you want to call it a throwaway panel, but just packed with details, right? You got the characters running, grabbing the motorcycle, bit of background, just simply done, but just very evocative. It really sets the scene, right? And you're not confused as to where the action's taking place, the environment. Always thought that was a pretty cool shot, this idea that a robot is plugged into a stealth bomber and just flying around town. That's pretty crazy. It is comic books. Good dynamic shot here. Good choice of having the motorcycle overlap, right? Everything else in the panels within the panel, but they're going so fast that they're popping out of it, right? It's a subliminal thing, but, you know, also creates more planes, brings them closer to us, to our focus. Twin Towers, not there anymore. Just the simplicity of this shot here with the stealth bomber in the sky, you know, and I guess these are oil refineries and around New York, right? It's just, it's got to be New Jersey. I've driven through there. I feel like that's New Jersey. Could be wrong. It says Port of Elizabeth. Tell me where that is. I'm not American. Oh, geez. New Jersey. Makes sense. I literally like drove past here. Very cool. But yeah, overall my point is the simplicity in the layouts and the shadows and stuff, and just very evocative, and evocative to the point where I recognize it. It really evokes what that area of New Jersey is. I feel like there are instances, you know, when you're drawing jets, you're probably photo referencing. Jets are hard to draw, right? So I feel like that's what's being happening here. And even with this, I feel like this is a photo referenced shot of a pilot here. It's almost more like a, you know, someone trying to illustrate realistically, I guess, in a more classical approach. Even down here, once again, the shot, just simple silhouettes and stuff to evoke New York City, right? I don't know if you could do that as well today because the Twin Towers aren't there anymore. But back then you could use like that right away. That's a clear symbol that we're in New York City, right? Pretty obvious, but just all done in silhouette and well done, just clear and understandable. I think that's a great panel as well to go with the other one we saw. The sense of speed and dynamism here with the broken kind of, you know, hatch lines and stuff. I think that's really well done. Kind of odd here that is this one of those, you know, we predicted 9/11 moments, because this plane is flying towards the Twin Towers, it seems like, in 1991, so 10 years before. So is that one of those? I don't know. You tell me in the comments. Just an odd finish on this, not typical Silvestri, just went really simple. So maybe the windows evoke more of his hatching, but I just thought that's an odd choice. Makes it almost look like it's traced from a picture, which maybe it is, like these guys here, either referenced or traced. I mean, I wouldn't fault him for tracing. Again, jets are hard to draw, especially in perspective, different angles. And here's the cover shot, basically, where Wolverine gets run into by, like, how is that even possible? But very interesting. Good storytelling, you know. Comics, extremes. Silvestri draws the hell out of the whole sequence too, so, you know, that helps to sell it. Some cool, more Wolverine horror shots here with Albert, right? Just a chance to make Wolverine even scarier and creepier is what Albert is. LCD gets in between, stops him from fighting, at least momentarily. Still flying this stealth plane, which eventually crashes into the water. I'm going to assume that's the Hudson in New York. Could be wrong, so if I am, please correct me. But I feel like that's where that is. Maybe you should have had our friend Sully flying that plane, right? Maybe we wouldn't have crashed. And of course, this is to be continued in the next issue, which is also super exciting art-wise, which I'm you know, looking forward to talking about in 1 week's time, when is once again Mark Silvestri Day. So there you have it. That is Wolverine issue 40. Leave comments, questions below. If you have any, let me know. If you have any questions for me, always willing to answer them. Thank you so much for checking out the video, and I hope everyone out there has an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.